Okay, so this is slightly different from my usual kind of video. Now, obviously, as you guys know, I've been covering a lot of VTuber news and drama over on this channel, which has been a really great time. I've had such a blast covering it all, kind of giving you guys the information, and also just building a community in general. There seems to be a lot of you guys that are coming back, obviously interacting with community posts and stuff, and also pointing out that I'm a secret swarm member, which has been really fun. It's been a really good time. And obviously, I still continue and plan to continue, making this content. And yeah, obviously, I can't wait to see what actually happens in the future. And yeah, what's the future of my content, essentially. But I wanted to talk about something that I've noticed recently, which has kind of been bugging me for a little bit, but a couple of videos have actually surfaced that kind of just sent me over the edge in terms of, wanting to talk about this and actually being honest with you guys about what has really been going on. Because recently, obviously I've made a lot of connections in the VTuber news space with a lot of VTuber news creators and stuff. I've made many friends, and I've also made friends with a lot of VTubers in general too. And, I'm very aware of a lot of the VTuber news channels out there that also cover similar stuff to me, right? And there's always going to be this crossover, but I think it becomes a little bit too far whenever it, becomes extremely obvious that you are trying to copy someone else or take a heavy amount of inspiration from someone else. Now, you guys have probably seen this channel before. It's a channel called Salvi. Now, again, I'm sure, obviously, VTuber news channels, we cover, things that are crossing over all the time. There's really big topics. For example, like the Cinder topic, right? You remember whenever that happened? And obviously I was covering it, so many other people were covering it. So many people that weren't even in the VTuber space were covering it, right? And of course, there was going to be all of those big topics of the day, which are going to be the big thing that, a lot of people are going to be covering. But a lot of the time, sometimes I make my own videos in terms of doing research and in terms of actually kind of creating my own ideas, or, maybe rage baiting someone on Twitter and kind of making a funny video about it or whatever. And you guys seem to really enjoy that. And, I really enjoy making that content too, because sometimes news can be a little bit down, right? And I've noticed with Salvi here, they seem to be obviously having a lot of the same topics, especially the ones that obviously I have also been covering. And this newest video on the IML Says Haters Backlash one, this one right here, 2 hours ago, it was the one that kind of just made me think, okay, like what is going on here? And we're going to go into all of the kind of details, because if you don't know, I made a video recently about the whole Rakai situation. I made it today, actually. Well, yesterday, I guess, because it is like 1 o'clock in the morning. But obviously, yeah, I made this today, and we talked about a lot of the Rakai fans essentially, being, kind of, I guess, upset at the fact that people were making fun of his feelings and stuff, which obviously is the complete same thing that they were doing to IMAS. And that was my whole topic. I went through a lot of my own Twitter threads, like literally you can see here in the Chrome tabs, I got IMAS's page open, obviously, and then I got 2 of my tweets, and then the original Yoxix tweet there, which was, pretty much all the content I needed. And obviously I talked about it. You guys really enjoyed it. It's on like, what, 11k likes, 12k views, sorry. So again, thank you for a lot of the kind of support on that. But then obviously I saw, I say haters exposed after Rakai clip backfires. And obviously then he uploads his video saying, IML's haters backlash. And then I took a look at this, right? And I was like, okay, that's interesting, because again, obviously it's my Twitter page, right? Surely he's just covering my Twitter, post and everything like that. And maybe he's just covering what I said. Sure, that's totally fine, right? But that hasn't been the case. This video, obviously, as you guys can see, throughout the video, he obviously talks about the original Rakai clip here. He goes through the IML's kind of Spotify, and then obviously he gets on to some of the replies on my tweet. But what you'll find very, very, interesting is that he never covers the original tweet that I made. The one that I talk about saying IML is still being childish, and also the follow-up one where essentially I talk about it even further, saying how the tables have turned. Both of those, right? I covered the Rakai situation, and it's very, very vital in terms of the context as to what people are kind of, I guess, getting mad about and why people were hating on my own post. But instead, he decides to look through, a lot of the replies on my post. And as you can see, it's my post here because my name is right here. It says relevant people. That means it's in the reply section. He also does scroll up a little bit in the video, throughout it. And you can see my username is always there, throughout this entire little section on his video. And I think it is pretty insane because he doesn't, at least as far as I heard, I, listened to the entire section of this. I didn't hear my name mentioned once, saying like, this came from a Kazahana post, go check him out or whatever. Something like that, something courteous like that, which again, a lot of people do. You know, I do it, and obviously I kind of wanted to give you guys a perfect example of this happening. I actually got recently featured in a Rev video, and this is what he had to say about one of my other tweets.
We have Kazahana, shout out to him. I enjoy his content, by the way. He says, it's crazy how many people didn't.
And that's all you need, right? Obviously, Rev, very, very nice. Love his content too. So again, go subscribe to him. But it's really that easy just to say something like that and also give a little bit of the context, because I'm not sure if Rev does go through the comments of this one or not. Yeah, he does go through the Mr. Beast comment at least. But he's actually providing you with the context of exactly what they are replying to, whereas he has purposely decided to leave my tweet out and leave my name out of this, which I think is pretty insane considering he is literally just covering my tweet, which is obviously my video because I made the video on the tweet. It is absolutely insane how this has, you know, gone past people. I haven't seen anybody in the comments or whatever saying, hey, you know, should you be, you know, saying, you know, this is Kazahana's tweet or something? Because again, it looks like to me that he's literally just ripped my video topic, obviously saw that I was covering my own tweet and just decided to leave me out of it. That's what it feels like to me, at least. And I think that is pretty horrible, right? I don't like that at all. I don't want anybody doing that with my content because, again, I think it's pretty ridiculous. Now, obviously, if he provided the context, maybe, you know, said my name or whatever, and said, you know, he enjoyed my content, or he doesn't even have to say he enjoyed my content. You know, he just has to say, like, hey, you know, these are some, like, replies from Kazahana's tweet or whatever. That's totally fine. Like, I don't care. But I think I'm at the point now where, you know, obviously with Salvi, like, obviously, I know you're probably going to be watching this video, so I don't want you, you know, doing anything with my content ever again. I want you to hide my channel from your YouTube. I want it gone. Like, I don't want you to be watching my content. I don't want it to be influencing you at all one bit, because again, it is starting to go onto your channel. It is starting to affect your channel. If you look, you know, if you compare both of these channels, you can do it in your own free time as well if you really want to. Anybody that is watching this, right? You can go through and look at each of the different topics that are being covered and also some of the titles, and they are extremely similar. For example, you know, we've got the Kisna Eye, you know, Under Fire. We've got the Iron Mouse Haters. You know, he covered both of those in that one video, obviously 2 hours ago. I covered both of these 11 and 6 hours ago. And obviously one of these videos, as I said, was literally my comment section. It was my comment section, me covering my own account and me rage baiting the Rakai fans. That is my content, right? And he has literally just used it in his own video and decided not to mention me at all, which I think is pretty ridiculous, right? And obviously we can continue going on. You know, we got like stuff like the Neurosamba thing. I'm not sure if he's covered that because, again, sometimes he does leave stuff out. Like, yeah, sure, he doesn't cover every video that I make, but I still think a lot of the time he makes, you know, pretty much exactly the same content I do just a couple of hours later. And that's exactly the kind of trend that I've been seeing across this channel. And now, obviously, maybe he's not copying every single one of my videos or whatever. Sure, that's totally a valid point you could be bringing up. And also, maybe he brings his own kind of, I guess, what do you call it, like opinion or context or whatever to it. Sure, totally fine. But I do think it does get a little bit frustrating to the point where, obviously, yes, that video example that I just showed you, but also you got stuff, for example, yeah, like Pipkin Pepper destroys Mr. Beast in crazy Twitter ratio. Pipkin Pepper humiliates Mr. Beast, you know, like it's crazy. Like Evil Neuro hits major Twitch milestone. You know, Evil Neuro hits huge Twitch milestone. Like, are you seeing what I'm seeing here? Like, and you can keep going down some of this list. Now, obviously, some of this stuff, for example, like Neuro Twitch warning removed, you know, I don't think I covered that. And obviously, he does have a couple of original videos, which, you know, that's great. You know, good job. You can cover a couple of videos on your own. But I do think it is pretty ridiculous how many rely on my content to actually, you know, put this out. And I think it's crazy because we can keep on going as well with other videos. For example, this one where we talk about Zentrea's huge impersonator. He talks about an imposter that was essentially trying to be Zentrea in a VR chat thing, and I don't even think it's been solved yet. And there was this one Discord announcement from Zentrea, which essentially said, hey, just as a heads up, there is a lot of impersonators and stuff like that, you know, and not to kind of believe them and you know, whatnot. We covered that. And obviously you can see the time here, the time that Zentrea uploaded it for whatever time zone this screenshot is in, right? Spoiler alert, it's my time zone, is at 2:34 a.m. Okay, you can see all of the different emotes as well. All of the emotes down here, 90, 333, 364, right? People have been emoting to it, you know, reacting to it. Then you go to my video and you can see it is exactly the same. 234, 234. The emotes are exactly the same. He literally just took the screenshot from my video. He literally just looked at my video, you know, screen grabbed it and then used it for his own content. And again, didn't mention me, which I think is crazy, right? And obviously he could have just went to her Discord and checked it. And I also do think it is pretty concerning, especially as a VTuber news channel, right? whenever you are going onto my videos, for example. Like, obviously you don't know who I am. I've never, talked to him. I've actually sent him a message, yesterday asking him, hey, can he stop? Didn't get a reply, obviously. But sometimes it can, requests on Twitter can be funny. So I guess that's why. But he could have went to the Discord itself, but obviously he took it from my video. Now, what if I was the biggest misinformation spreader in the VTuber space and you screenshotted that? What if I made up that screenshot? Wouldn't that make you look very silly? And I've contemplated it many times whenever I've seen this going on, of maybe making up some kind of topic and to see if you would actually cover it, because I feel like you don't do the research to kind of, find out whether this screenshot is real. Because what I would do, if I would see something like this plastered around somewhere, usually sometimes on Reddit and stuff, I would go and confirm for myself, go onto the Discord, check, okay, is that real? Okay, it's real. Okay, we'll make a video on it, right? But again, you've literally just yoinked it from my video, believed me in the fact that this was real, and done it. Now, obviously, yeah, all of my stuff, I'd be as, factual as possible. And obviously some stuff is like subjective and things in terms of, some other kind of content that I cover. But again, I think it is pretty crazy, that you're just blindly putting your faith in me to kind of, I guess, be the source for your VTuber kind of videos, which again, sure, if you want to do that, I guess you have that much faith in me. Yeah, go ahead. But obviously it doesn't even just go to videos, right? Because it starts to get even weirder. And this is where, I started to notice it even more. And again, I didn't even notice this at first, but essentially he's also been copying stuff like my tweets. Yeah, my tweets, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I think, obviously videos, whatever, is like, get that bag, right? Sure, whatever. Okay, fine. You're copying all of my videos. It's like, it's not really going to, work out well for you, because obviously I've already covered it and people have already seen that video. But, sure, whatever. If you want to try and, farm off that, fine. But whenever it comes to tweets, I just think it gets even weirder, because now it just seems like you're parroting exactly everything I do, right? Especially over on Twitter. For example, this screenshot right here. Obviously I uploaded 23 hours ago talking about the Rakai situation. Iron Mouse is still being harassed over the last situation with Rakai because his childish fans can't seem to hold themselves back from doing things like taking over her Spotify and using pictures of innocent girls claiming it's her. This dude never learns. Now, obviously, Salvi's version here, it says there is still harassment towards Iron Mouse over the Rakai situation because people can't be mature and do childish things like take over her Spotify, try to dox her by claiming innocent girls are IRL, and Rakai never learns. Like, obviously, he's changed a couple of words around there and he hasn't copied it bar for bar, but I mean, a lot of the main driving points home is pretty insane, right? Obviously, I say Iron Mouse is still being harassed. They say there is still harassment to Iron Mouse, going over the Rakai situation, over the last Rakai situation, because his childish fans, because people can't be mature, you see where this, where it's starting to, spin a little bit, saying can't seem to hold themselves back from doing things like taking over her Spotify, and do childish things like taking over her Spotify, and trying to dox her by claiming innocent girls are her IRL, and using pictures of innocent girls claiming it's her. It's the same tweet. It is literally the same tweet. And obviously also Rakai never learns. This dude never learns. I think it's insane. And obviously this has happened before. And also, if you don't believe that screenshot, by the way, it is up there. Obviously it's over here somewhere. Yeah, here. The tweet is up there. And my tweet is also there too, right? They're both on Twitter. This isn't like some Photoshop screenshot here. They're right here. You can read it. Pause the video if you like. They're all here. It's here, right? And in case you try to delete it too, again, it is here. And again, I did notice this as well with a couple of other tweets. For example, smaller things like this Mr. Beast one too, where obviously we had the whole anime list drama thing that went on a couple of days ago. And obviously I uploaded on mine saying, oh God, he's about to get clowned on, bro. Spelt Gundam as Gundam and stuff like that, right? And obviously he, this was at 11:43, January 9th for me, obviously. And you can see January 10th, the next day, he then says, this will not go well as he thinks it is. He is going to get clowned on for this. Exactly, using my same wording in terms of he's going to get clowned on, which I just think, obviously there are some coincidences sometimes. There are sometimes things that is just like, okay, maybe that's a one-off. But I think, there's so many dots that go onto a chart, and then you start to line up those dots, and it starts to become very, very obvious that this is happening, right? And I feel like me personally, I am being targeted by this person in terms of being copied, in terms of having my stuff stolen. And I think it is absolutely ridiculous. Now, obviously, you guys can make your own assumptions or decisions or whatever whenever it comes to this topic. I'm not really going to push you either way because, again, I just kind of wanted to get this information out here because I've been dealing with this for weeks now. And I think it is pretty ridiculous that it has gotten to this point where my tweets are even being copied. Like, I think it's crazy. I don't know why someone would do this. I don't know why, you know, I know why they do it, because obviously they're saying it gets popular. So I'm assuming he thinks maybe it will also get popular too. I don't know. But again, I think it's ridiculous. And as I said at the start of the video, or near the start of the video, if Salvi, if you are watching this, I do not want you to be involved in any of my content at all. I do not want, you know, I don't want you to be individually kind of looking through my videos. I don't want you to, you know, have it even suggested. I don't want you to get anything from my videos. Again, this is more so like a request, because again, you know, I can't really do anything about it, but at least I can tell you guys, the people that are watching, about this, so you can know, you know, that this is going on and this is happening, because it is very much real. And the same goes for Twitter as well, you know. And obviously, if I see it continues to go on Twitter too, I'm just going to block you, because again, it's much easier on Twitter. And but again, I don't know. Obviously, Twitter kind of removed the feature to, you know, see, you can still see posts and stuff, which I think is pretty crazy. But hey, you know, at the end of the day, I just kind of want to get this off my chest, because again, this is just, you know, a couple things out of this entire thing that I just wanted to get off my chest. Because again, I think it's insane, and I don't think, you know, someone should be able to get away with this for so long, especially considering, you know, how much I actually do to research topics, to actually, you know, how much work I put into rage baiting people on Twitter, right? And obviously that's a joke, but you know, I make my own content, and sometimes I make my own content off my own content, and it does well, and I'm, you know, incredibly happy that it does well. But obviously then it starts to feel bad whenever there is someone literally taking that as well, which, you know, as I said, this video, the one with the Iron Mouse stuff where he, you know, doesn't even mention me, was kind of the breaking point. And yeah, it just needs to stop, right? And obviously, you know, this video is probably titled something like "I'm done" or whatever. I'm not done, you know, YouTubing. I'm just done in general. I'm done with this kind of situation. Like, it's so dumb. And obviously it can be all avoided. It can all be fixed. And, you know, obviously if he goes to making content with his own kind of, you know, research and stuff going forwards, that's totally fine, right? I don't care. I'm not going to pay attention to his channel, right? But I think, you know, it's pretty insane if this does carry on even after this video, because I think it would just be kind of shameless, right? But yeah, as I said, you know, as always, like and subscribe if you guys did enjoy this video. Probably didn't, because it's not exactly the nicest of topics. But yeah, that's all I got, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.